Hello and welcome everyone to the second part of the Kubernetes 134 retro meeting. I'm Fred. I'm the Emeritus Advisor for this past release, and I'll be hosting it today. This is a CNCF. This is a Kubernetes community meeting that follows the Kubernetes NCF Code of Conduct. So be mindful of what you say. This is also being recorded and will be posted on YouTube. So feel free to turn off your camera if that's something that you prefer. Obrigado. Yeah, sorry about that. With that out of the way, I'm already sharing the screen. First things first, is anyone volunteering to be a note taker? Or I'll use the patented Cat Cosgrove method of just pinning it on someone. I don't know if I can do it. I know Cat can,
You
but
can do it. I believe in you, dude.
I'm soft at heart, so I
Jordan, you're taking notes today.
I'm happy to. I was actually about to say I'm happy to take notes. Having multiple people take notes is great, but I'm always happy to.
Oh yeah, okay, perfect, John. Yeah, excellent. I'll also be taking a. Why can I edit anything? I haven't signed up. Let me.
I do only have suggest access to the doc. I'm not sure if that's going to be super annoying.
Oh, I can fix that.
Okay, thanks.
Let me put it here. Part 2. Excellent. Add yourselves to the attendee list. Let me also paste the link in here somewhere. Chat. It's already there. Thank you, Shanghao.
Jordan, your Google email address has edit access now.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay, so should we start? So yeah, should we start for the previous retro follow-up again, or should we focus on the stuff that we didn't?
We can focus on the part 2 stuff. I have marked some of my stuff either done or in progress,
Okay.
and one of Jeremy's items I know to be done because we entirely reset the SIG release meeting. And we did make sure that it's anchored to U2C.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll start here. Wait.
Oh, we've got some what could have gone better under part 2.
What went well? Yeah, we have
got some well.
What went well, right?
Yeah.
Here it is. Let's start, and I see Matteo here. Yes, I do. How's everything, Matteo? I think that the first point is yours.
Yes, it is. And it's regarding the branch management shadow program. I think it went really well, but of course, like from my perspective, I would like to hear maybe from Drew. I don't know if Angelos is here, but like I think it's needed to give a little bit of breathing room to release management to do some more work on structural stuff and less on the release itself. Which allows for like improvements and everything. So I think it's great that we picked it back up, and I would like to have it even for next release, but I'm not gonna be here for next release. So I would love for someone else to take over the mentoring task. That's all.
You can assign to me to make sure that happens. Yeah, assign. Let me go assign myself an action item down here at the bottom, and I will make sure that happens.
Where are we?
We have already some candidates. Like we have 3-4 people that reached out to shadow next release. So I think it's already like a good cohort, depending on, of course, approval from SIG leads and stuff. But...
Okay, I've given myself an action item. I'll make sure that does continue.
I think you're muted, Drew, if you were talking or something like
Zoom's haunted for Drew.
Can you hear me now?
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, mic issues. So yeah, no, I was gonna say from my perspective, I learned a lot from the shadow program. I think there were, I know we were kind of in flight with some documentation changes, and I think personally, I'm gonna need to shadow a second time to kind of, better understand some of the context where I can contribute more to the docs. But yeah, that's really good work. I know you did a lot of uh, a lot of contribution there, Matteo. So thank you for that.
Of course, it's what I signed up for.
Perfect. So we have that one covered. Unless anyone has more comments, I'll go to the what could have gone better in 134. We do have a comment here. I'm not sure that if the person who made
That's
it is in the
Marco. He's
call.
not
Marco,
here.
Yeah, I don't think Marco is here. Yeah.
Beyond
But-
can test it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can start the thread on this. What Marco initially asked was for removing the dependency on CI release signal to block the release cut or not. The reasoning behind that was that release signal is just one of the inputs that the branch management team receives in order to proceed with a release cut or not, because they mainly check whether the master branch or the version v1.xx has a stable CI or not. And then there are other factors as well. For example, if the bot is broken or something else before proceeding with the release cut. My take was on this was that historically, release branch management has previously overridden the changes that were proposed by release signal, even when a release signal team member formally didn't post the message that this is green now, but it was implied through other threads that a SIG lead posted in the thread that is linked in the message that is sent to release branch management that this issue is not a blocker. So the release branch manager reads that and automatically proceeds with the cut. That has happened in the past, but I think Marco's point was to remove release signal from blocking the release cut. So it's ultimately the release branch manager who decides whether they're going to proceed with the cut or not, irrespective of whether the update they have received from release signal is updated or even present or however it may be. So that's the take that Marco had on that.
So to that, I have a comment that I didn't write, which is, as far as I understood, aside from the signal on the day, which I think that's the whole point. Like that's the one that's not so important for branch management. The important ones are the days before, so that SIGs can address the issues, tests, flakes, whatever. But on the day, usually there are known issues, known flakes, and whatever. Okay, perfect. Not a blocker. If there's anything new, then still same process, but I'm not sure that we need like the final green if the previous one was green, since we already screenshot the test grid status when we do the cut, like as part of the process. So we do know if on the day, an hour before the release, something happens and some test turns red without release signal.
It's not always the screenshot of the test grid that matters, because screenshot is only there for failing tests. It's not there for flaking tests. There have been instances where just before a release cut, the signal was blocked because another flake was discovered, and then following the best practices, it was required to make sure that that isn't a blocker because the team might have not seen that before. So I think that's the motive of having release signal behind that. But I am also okay with if there is no release signal representative, let's say in a particular time zone, and then the cut remains blocked for that time duration. That's not how it should be, but sometimes that has happened. So in those cases, I think release branch management should have the freedom to proceed with the cut. I think a good solution here might be having a set response time on the day of a release cut from release signal side. And if the release branch management team hasn't received a clear response until then they can maybe check on their own or proceed with the cut or however they deem appropriate. So that might be a solution. Because the whole idea of this was not blocking release branch management when release signal is not there. So you can set a maximum deadline for them to respond to, and if they don't respond till that time, then maybe release branch management can ping the release lead or necessary action can be taken. Kat and Stephen, I see your hands are. Go ahead.
Hello. I am happy to try to rework the relationship with release signal and branch management, but just to be clear, if release signal is giving a red, if they're blocking the release is blocked. And branch management doesn't get to override that, in my opinion. Nobody gets to override the release team sub-project blocking a release for any reason, really, without running it up to me or failing access to me, the SIG chairs. It shouldn't happen. But like, yes, we should work out a way to make that relationship like cleaner, make it less likely for release signal representation to slow down a release cut because there just simply isn't somebody available in that time zone. But if they have indicated a red, it's red. And the answer is no until somebody shows up to tell you otherwise. Branch management should not be overriding that ever.
Yeah, that's what I raised my hand to say effectively. We have the signals for a reason. And I think a red, a team making a call on a red is a good reason to stop. I think the people who can override that decision, to Kat's point, I think the release team lead is in the mix. Sub-project leads for the release team, as well as the SIG chairs. But a red is definitely a stop. I think it sounds like the relationship can be improved between those two groups. I would be curious about how we perceive a not quite a red, but a yellow orange, or somewhere in between, right?
There's not really a yellow for release cuts because it's either blocking or non-blocking.
But times when we have like something
Yeah.
new flaking and we've got a response from the SIG, the branch manager cannot override that on their own. You need the release lead, me, or a SIG chair to weigh in and say, yes, we agree that that's not blocking. There's no cowboy stuff.
Okay. So I just want to make this clear. Let's say there's a situation in which release signal has started a thread in release management with two flakes and they have linked these Slack threads. In these Slack threads, maybe one of the SIG leads reply on that particular issue that it is not a release blocker. Is release branch management okay to proceed with the release cut in that case, or do they still need to wait for release signal to check whether there are any new flakes or not before proceeding ahead?
The release branch manager has authority granted by the release team lead for them to proceed with the release. They need to be doing that because the release team lead has said so. So in the case of a flake, and in the case of people agreeing upon a flake not really being an issue, I would want a release team lead sign off on it.
Okay, yeah, that sounds fair.
Just raising my hand as the note taker. I want to make sure I'm getting the notes right. I think yours, whoever's presenting, is not connected to the internet, so you're not seeing
no?
new notes being.
Oh yeah, you need to refresh the tab.
Oh yeah.
Frederico.
Sorry. Yeah.
But I don't want to misrepresent what people are saying in terms of like very specific roles in the release process, and I am probably getting that wrong. So I tried to describe what was just described, where New flake shows up, signal team identifies it, starts a thread, SIG area leads, investigate, and determine this is a known thing or not a blocker. And you said a release team lead needs to act that? Was that what I heard?
Yeah, so just to clarify, the SIG lead case or area, specifically, like let's modify that to be reviewers in that area or approvers in that area. Because I don't want that to be perceived as SIG leads from release, right? The release team lead should be signing off on that.
Okay, and that, so CI signal is notifying that the flake exists. A new thing showed up. We need this to be dispositioned. That makes sense. People
Right.
who understand the area weigh in, and release team lead says, okay, that explanation makes sense. We're okay with proceeding. That sounds like if the release or the CI signal folks are offline because they're like in a different time zone, like they raised it. They're not saying this is solid red. We are 100% blocked. It's like, this is a flake. We need a judgment call on this. And we're
Yeah.
okay with proceeding. If CI signal folks were saying this is solid red, we are 100% blocked.
Yeah.
That's what we're not comfortable saying. It's fine.
Correct.
Yeah, fair
Yeah.
enough. Yeah, and I would say this if CI signal identifies is really if anyone identifies.
And also from my perspective, working on both teams, it seems like we wait until the release signal status turns green again before branch management can proceed, which I also think makes sense. Because sometimes we might be making a conclusion, but we need to see that full confidence on it, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, for the cases where the cut was maybe for flake, then the release lead and anyone else, if release signal folks are not available, can weigh in. But if it was a solid red on something, then I think release signal should, or the release lead should sign it off. So that's the process. So for either flake or solid, so for either yellow or red, the release lead or release signal should be signing off the signal. So only green release branch management can progress, and everything else is blocked as it used to be.
Should this be better documented in any of the rule books or anywhere else?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think this should be outlined in both the release signal handbook and the branch manager handbook.
Yeah, exactly.
Who wants that action item?
Currently in branch management, there is already wait for release signal
Okay.
green. So like it's unchanged. It's just that off the grid we did something different.
Okay.
I would say also for the release team lead, since they're part of this process.
Yeah, you can give that action item to me.
I'll do it. Let me go here. So I would say improve existing rule book. Which one? It's not the, it's the release signal or
Yeah.
I think release signal also has that as far as I remember. But I think this should be added to the release lead handbook as well.
To the, sorry?
As far as I remember, release signal has this portion about the go no go signal for the release cut,
Yeah.
but I think the release lead handbook should also have that portion in it. So just checking the release signal handbook once again and updating the release lead handbook should do it.
And Matteo, you were saying we're pretty confident in how it's laid out in the branch management handbook.
Yeah, it's technically like the first item of the checklist now. Check if release signal gave the green signal before doing anything. And it's also in the checklist in the issue template, I think. For that, I'm not sure. For the docs, I'm super sure.
Okay, let's add a review of the template, please.
Yeah, I've worded it loosely here to give it some leeway, right, Drew? So improve review existing release signal, release lead handbooks on the go no go policy. I mean, this along with the documentation there, it should be enough. But if I mean, feel free to correct me, obviously.
Let's do a check of the template as well, please.
Spute, sorry.
I checked
The-
with the template. So add an
Okay.
action item to check the template and make sure that it's actually accurate.
It's in both.
It's sorry.
In branch management, we have it for both.
Okay.
Ensure agreeing signal, and then there is a section that I linked.
What am I doing? Forget about it. I'm on the wrong place.
Here, I can add it.
No, I'm here. I'm just on the wrong window.
Oh, okay.
It's
Cool.
strange, but yeah. So here. Also, Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Feel free to word it better, but it should be okay.
So just to clarify before we move on, we're talking about the branch management template.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in that one it's actually already checked. I checked for both and it's present in both. I post the docs and the first item of the checklist when you create an issue.
Okay. Cool.
Okay. Can we move to the next point, or
I think so.
just yeah, perfect. Let me see if I'm missing something. Where were we? We were here, part 2. Right. Now, what will we do differently in 135 and beyond? Let me see if we have a part 2 in here. Yes, we have. Josh and Mickey, anchor code freeze time and party to enhancement leads time zone, or maybe UTC. Is anyone that opened this here, or mean,
Neither
I
of them
understand-
is here,
yeah.
but like,
there are some stuff that already is very specifically and prescriptively anchored to UTC,
Yes.
right?
yes. There's also, we're in a weird spot where we used to just anchor everything to Pacific time.
Yeah, I remember that.
And now we're kind of moving towards anchoring everything UTC. I don't personally object to anchoring it to UTC.
I have one question here. When we say anchoring it to UTC, do we mean just changing the time zone to UTC and then it can be, because it's all relative timing.
Yes, but I mean,
Code
it's
freeze
usually like
parties.
it's like an end of day usually, right? So it would
Yeah.
be, it would mean that the enhancements freeze is at 6 p.m. UTC instead of 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Do we need to enforce that? Because that would mean if the enhancement is in a time zone where it might be 1 or 2 a.m. for actually doing the code freeze, then
We
it
already
would-
have that problem.
Yeah. So should we so when we are following the release timeline, I think sub-team leads that are responsible for particular timelines, deadlines should actually pitch in to say this would be an appropriate time to enforce something like this.
Yeah, so the whole like schedule setting process is negotiated, and anybody is welcome to negotiate it. So I don't have a problem with that being part of the negotiation, that it should be convenient to the enhancements lead. However, that the exact time of that deadline is also historically kind of wobbly.
Yeah.
Like officially it may be at 6 p.m. UTC, but like unofficially we're not going to make somebody file an enhancement request over something coming in 2 hours after that. Usually.
Yeah, and the merge pool also takes some time to drain sometimes, so it's not really a strict deadline.
Yeah.
Stephen, you have your hand raised. You were the first.
Yeah, so you may want to consider anywhere on Earth time for the previous day. That way, when the team gets in the whatever their morning is, you can kind of proceed as if everything is done, or everything should be done by then, right?
That's fine too. We use anywhere on Earth for the Shadow app.
Yeah.
I think we do need like a specific time though, because we have to like unhold a PR that enforces like we can't add new keps to the board.
Yeah, to actually enforce the freeze, there should be a specific deadline.
Jordan.
I was just gonna say, like, principle of least surprise. Doing end of day UTC would surprise every single US contributor.
It would.
So,
Yeah.
whether that's good or bad, like, just be prepared for 400 surprised, scared people who absolutely should have gotten their stuff merged like 2 weeks earlier. So I like the end of day the anywhere in the world suggestion. If the concern is about like making leads stay up late, is there a way to make the enforcement turn on a schedule? So like at this time, this will happen, so they don't have to stay up late.
I mean, technically, you can unhold a PR by writing a comment with an API call that you schedule in a cron job, but it's not super feasible.
Like the later we go, if it's anywhere in the world, like I don't even feel bad about like if that's midnight somewhere and someone gets caught off guard, like it's midnight, your stuff should have merged.
Yeah.
Yeah, anywhere on Earth does allow you to do like, okay, it is quite literally n+1 day since we said it was the freeze. So if your stuff is not in, it's absolutely over, right?
What happened in this code freeze party was we had to retest a few PRs because there was a flake which was blocking the CI. So it was not the contributor's fault who was trying to get their PR merged because the flake was unrelated and was blocking the main CI. So a fix for that had to, I think that particular PR which was blocking had to be reverted, and then all the PRs in the merge pool had to be retested in order for the CI to pass, and then them to be merged successfully. And this was something that we were doing during the code freeze party. Either we take things like these off the plate of the release lead or the enhancements lead, and they simply just enforce this, and then it's the duty of the contributors to check whether their code merged or not, or we still allow for things like these. So we need to clarify that as well.
I think it's difficult to cover all the edge cases. Maybe like common sense could be a good solution. Like you applied this time. You know there was a flake, you worked on it, and yeah, I mean this time it worked.
There aren't many situations where this is critical because a lot of our deadlines are mostly are not that hard, right? I mean they are, but as someone said, it's not because 1 hour that we will force someone to file a request. But I remember that for the code freeze, that's probably the place where where I sort of understand why Pacific time zone was decided upon, because you have to really try hard to find a time zone in which we have people working that is later, right? So in a sense, the Pacific time zone thing was anywhere in the world because it ends up being very close to the date change line.
I mean,
So
the end of 6 p.m. anywhere in the world is something we can calculate. Like we know when 7 p.m. anywhere in the world is. So how about we just go with anywhere in the world 6 p.m. and when we hit anywhere in the world 7 p.m., that's when
Yeah.
we start unholding stuff. Like that is the time that ends up on the calendar invite for code freeze.
But correct me if I'm wrong. In practical terms, isn't that anchoring the deadline to the closest time zone to the international date changing line? So if we say 6
Yeah.
p.m. on that line, Micronesia time zone or whatever, I can't really remember who sits there.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So that's it, right? Because
But that's that. Yeah, I mean that's how it would work on the calendar. But anywhere on Earth time is easier to communicate than
It's
6 p.m. in Micronesia.
Yes,
you know?
I'll give you that. Although less stylish, but I'll give you that.
We are
but
all
yeah,
about style here on the
no,
release team.
agreed. I was, but yeah, I think this is the best thing to have lazy consensus in terms of it's the end of the day, working day, wherever you are.
Yeah.
I know I'm moving to an island in the Pacific just so I have an extra day to work on my PRs.
Oh, same. Because that's my goal. What I want to do is spend more time working on PRs. Yeah, the Howland Islands. Let's go. Yeah. Sure. Pog. Okay. We should time box this and move on though.
Okay. Yeah. Any action out of this?
No, we're gonna have this
okay.
conversation next week for actually we're having it this week, I guess, Drew. So call it good.
Good to know.
Yeah, moving on. Vyom, take it. Document the order of things to be done for code freeze.
Yeah, this is just a formal documentation item. I think this has been followed in the past, but we should explicitly add this to the handbook as well. Jenny had I see Jenny's on the call. Jenny, do you want to explain the item?
Oh, yeah, I think we briefly touched on this, that just whether we should kind of enforce the code freeze before the party starts so that we're not waiting for CI to pass for like the 2 hours. But yeah, maybe it's kind of related to previous discussion of kind of time zones and when the actual deadlines are.
I think we should enforce the freeze, and then we can add milestone to the PRs that were supposed to get in, but maybe didn't get in due to but the main CI was blocking unrelated flake to that PR, and then they can be added to the milestone by the release lead. So enforce it at the time that it has been decided at, and then you can later add the milestone to the PRs that weren't merged but were supposed to be merged. So that's a reasonable solution, which would help enforce it at time.
Yeah, plus one to that. Like at enforcement time, requiring a milestone, throwing a milestone on, go to bed, let the queue drain. Like,
Yeah.
Don't sit up and watch CI. That's miserable.
Yeah, y'all should never be sitting up watching CI. You extremely don't have to do that. Go to bed.
We'll find out in the morning if something got stuck, and we'll be able to in the morning.
Okay, that sounds good. I can include this kind of in the. I'm doing some handbook updates for enhancements, so I'll add this in.
Okay, so I'll add that as a thingy. So wording for this would be go sleep, don't watch CI pipelines, but
yeah, I think like
who volunteered?
label.
Sorry, I'm not seeing the.
So at code freeze,
Jenny, yeah.
everything that's already Vyom is adding. Right.
Yeah, sorry, perfect. Let's move. Vyom, it's yours as well. Exception request template.
Yeah, so I think there's a confusion regarding the additional time needed in days. How we see it as additional time needed in days from the exact time we enforced code freeze, but a lot of people seem to include the additional time from when they are sending in the request. I think we should anchor it to a time zone, like when are you gonna get your PRs merged, instead of doing the maths of adding times and then let's say they ask for 2 days and then for them 2 days might mean something else. So just anchor it to a particular time.
Kat?
Hard agree. People also have confusion about number of days, meaning work days and not including weekends when it 1000% includes weekends. So yes, and I'll take the action item to update that because it drives me nuts.
The template should be, when will you be done? So
Yeah.
we can ship.
Give me a date. Yeah. Happy to take that.
And time zone, please.
Yes.
Just for the sake of, I've added it this to Kat.
Thank you.
Going on, Jenny? Slack thread links.
Yeah, just a super small one. I think Vyom had suggested this earlier, but in the exceptions.yaml where we document like the code freeze and enhancement freeze like exceptions, would it be useful to add a link to the Slack thread as well as the Google Groups thread? I'm not sure if these need to follow a certain template. I didn't see anything validating that they follow a certain format, so I think we could just change the YAML without breaking anything, hopefully.
As far as I searched on Hound, I couldn't find any automation related to that particular file. So I think it should be absolutely okay to change that. Although just for sanity purposes, it's better to version any YAML so that we don't end up in a kept-like situation, although it's hard to think of the use case here. But I can take the action item on this to update and add that thing, though it would be versioned and would be only present in the newer exceptions YAML file.
Okay.
Are Slack thread links durable now that we've lost like long history? If the point of this is to sort of,
We
We
didn't
haven't
lose
lost-
long
We have not.
history.
did we not?
Nope.
No, not yet.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but the point remains that it might happen.
Yeah. Like having them as context is fine, but like copy out any important discussion to like a more durable format, please, 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 please.
Okay, I've added this one as well. Chugging along. A lot of stuff. Jenny again, enforcing PRR freeze.
Yeah, just as a note that for the next cycle, if we're going to enforce it, we probably might need to stop the enhancement syncing at that time instead of later at the enhancements freeze. But I guess we can figure that out when we figure out the schedule.
Kat?
Yes, and you will also see an update to the enhancements handbook sometime this week. I've got to work with Mache, but yes, because you guys are taking that over, there's going to be a little bit of tweaking of how that works. But between working out the schedule with Drew this week and working with Mache to decide how best to handle the handover of PRR reminders, we'll get you an actual formal update this week.
Excellent.
Just one question here. I am assuming there would be a PRR exception request as well. So if any
Yes,
misses it,
correct.
then okay. So that no automation is required, then it would be manually added.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think we can move from this one. This one is from Mikey as well. We should have release 1.x jobs created task in the release calendar as RC0 day plus 1 or 2 days. It's unrealistic to handle both the RC0 release and the post RC0 release tasks in the same day, even if you have multiple branch managements working on this. Matteo, you made some comments as well, so
Yes.
yeah.
So I agree with Marco 100%, especially after I did it. I would say that we have two options viable with a little bit of effort with the first one. So we shift RC0 before the date that actually we set, or like we do the branch things before RC0, which means we have to change how CREL works. Because currently the CREL command creates the branch during the RC0 cut. We should actually create it as a separate process. New CREL command, whatever, that's like detail in the design. But the point is we want RC0 to have already the release branch and everything needed and the tests to avoid a little bit the back and forth and the 3-4 days of following up after RC0. The other thing would be, yes, we can have two different branch managers or two different people working on this, but as Marco says, we should expect either 1 or 2 days of delay, or just expecting even by the following Monday, we will have the dashboards and everything ready. Guillaume.
Historically, it has never been expected that release managers set up the boards on the day of the RC0 cut. It is always an, I think, unset expectation that they're going to be done by the end of the week. I am absolutely agree on the point of creating the RC0 cut from a release branch, which has release jobs set up. So you create the release branch, you set the V1.34 or 35 jobs, and then from that branch and that CI, you cut the release candidate. So I'm very much okay with that, but that would require CREL changes. And especially when this cycle, there was an additional release cut required when the release branch management team was still setting up the release CI. So I think it's a good idea to do that before we are cutting any release cuts. Release candidates, sorry.
Yeah. Plus one to that is just a matter of I don't think we can target 135 with this change, maybe 136 realistically.
So I would plus one that. I agree, like some of this is vestigial when we were doing release branch cuts off of beta 0. So maybe before some of your time, but we did shift that over to release the first release candidate to give a bit more window for other activities. But yeah, this is a decent amount of CREL changes, and I think realistically to test this out and feel good about it, it's a release cycle and change.
There's no additional, no specific action that we want to record. Maybe we can move to the next one.
Yeah,
Being
we've only got
mindful of
about
the
10 minutes
10
left.
minutes. Yeah, that's exactly why I'm saying it. Drew?
Yeah.
So sorry, real quick. The action is to do it, right? Just to be clear.
Yeah, it's do it. It's
Okay.
just not a
Okay,
135
okay.
action item. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
I think 135 might be kind of short anyway. So
Can't. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
135 is already gonna be tight. It always is.
Yeah. We do want an action item for someone filing this to do it eventually.
Okay. I will go grab that and add it to the existing action item that Guillaume and I have to open. You know what? We already have one. Create an issue for tracking all the problems with CREL.
It's gonna be a big issue.
It is.
Okay. So for my item here, we could skip it. I think I just need to like create an action item to do this thing. But if you want a little bit of context, I'm noticing there's some differences with, between the enhancements handbook and the release docs handbook in terms of like having a really nice template to give contributors, like in terms of here, here's the requirements that you have to meet for this next freeze. So I think it'd be cool to you know, kind of make those a little bit more consistent.
Ship it.
Perfect. Next one, Agus, too many highlights. I don't know if someone wants to describe it, but otherwise.
Oh, she's here.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I'm here. So I'll try to keep it brief. This is about the release announcements getting longer and longer. And it is rooted at we are getting more highlights, and that's great. I think compared to other releases like 131, we are getting more participation from the SIGs in the highlights discussion. But right now, I believe comms is just writing about every highlight that we get. And since the participation in the highlights discussion increased, we are getting more writing to do. Writing gets time consuming, reviews gets time consuming. So I have two ideas. One is we ask SIGs to be more picky or bring a prioritized list, and also ask comms to be more opinionated on what goes in the announcement and do like a selection of the selection that the SIGs already do. That's it.
So first of all, great job getting so much response from other SIGs. It's been a long road. So really, really good job on that. It's great that we're getting so many people trying to get release highlights, and it used to be a struggle to get enough to put together a blog. So that's phenomenal. You are the one who gets to be picky. Comms gets to be picky. Not everything gets a release highlight. Not everything gets a feature blog. You're not measured on the number of release highlights or on the number of feature blogs. So you get to be picky. You get to decide based on your own opinion what is important enough to be considered a highlight and what deserves a feature blog. You don't have to take everything that gets submitted. So phenomenal job getting there. Now you get to be picky.
Thank you.
If that's not clear in the handbook, I'll take an action item to clarify it.
That's the thing. So I would add an action item to add that to the handbook, and I can take that. I will do some updates to the handbook. Yeah.
Phenomenal. Good job.
And you can continue, I guess, if you want, with the mid-cycle blog.
This is a brief one. The mid-cycle blog this cycle went out saying that we had no deprecations, but we actually found some on the last part of the cycles, and I don't know how to fix this honestly, but I think Biom has a suggestion.
And Jordan, sorry, I cut you off.
Oh no, that's fine. I was just gonna say, like, some guidance to SIGs, like to be self-selective, like telling them you probably should include everything in your list, like just include your highlights.
Yeah, because I think
help.
some SIGs are doing that. They are just listing everything that they delivered in the release. So yeah, I will also add that to the handbook.
And then, like, feel free to reach out to SIGs for follow-up. Like, if you have too many things and you're trying to decide, like, we need to cut something, like, which of these seem more important to you? Like, that's a totally fine question. Like, if you don't feel like you have enough information to decide, it's totally fine to ask, like, which would you rather us highlight? We only have room for one. Or you can pick the one that seems most compelling to you. So that's all.
Thank you.
Yeah, coming on the second item, I think this is something that is required to be improved on the cap YAML side. Right now, how the team operates is that if the cap is, has the property that it is a cap that is deprecating something, that would be populated onto the board, and that is the metrics we put out. This is something that should be improved because one cap can be put into multiple buckets. It can add a new feature and at the same time deprecate something as well. So I was thinking about where's the best place to put this and what's the best way to automate this. And one thing that came to my mind was PRR question. A lot of KEPs mention things like these, that they are deprecating this thing or this alias in just the description or the summary of the KEP, but not in a field where it can be picked by any automation. So how about adding it to the PRR questionnaire? Although it says production readiness review, but still, I think it should be added to that. So that's it's an explicit question. What's this kept deprecating? If it's not deprecating something that's entry in Kubernetes, is there something that it's like the container deprecation? We had only the versions 2.x would be supported going forward. No, that's something that it's the driver flags were deprecating in Kubernetes, sure. But still the support for a very major container runtime engine was dropped from a particular version, which is worth mentioning in the release notes of Kubernetes. So I think KEPs should mention things like these so that we can, or the comms team can put it out to the people who might be benefited from reading this.
Kat?
You got to go fight with the enhancement subproject and SIG architecture.
Well,
Yeah, and this does tie into the issue of we need to version KEPs.
Yeah, the KEPs.
Which, yeah. We have 3 minutes remaining, so I will schedule a third retro if we want.
I was just gonna say, for the mid-cycle deprecations blog specifically, we need to be really clear about like deprecation meaning we're not gonna keep working on this. It's just gonna stay the way it is forever. Versus
And we're gonna remove
deprecation,
it.
like you have to go do stuff or you're gonna be broken in 6 months. And like as we're talking about architecture and enhancements, like that distinction needs to be super clear because we're not gonna work on this. It's frozen. That might be interesting, but we shouldn't scare people about it.
Officially, it's the mid-cycle deprecations and removals blog. So we should be more careful about our phrasing, but that is also like, yeah, a KEP issue. Like we can't tell. We only see deprecation.
Yeah, for
we
sure.
have no
and,
fucking
and
clue.
Contributors sometimes can't even tell. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm deprecating it. Like, no, dude, you're deleting it. That's not a
Yeah,
what
that's not the same. Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you all like me to schedule a part 3 of the retro for these last issues, or would you like us to respond to each of these async in like sub points?
I have a couple of the action items after this. One is Krell. Krell is broken. That's more of a rant than an action item. I am planning to
Okay.
Krell after this. Yeah, again, the next one is also about me ranting about Krell. The other is why isn't K website frozen at docs freeze? I think we can take this async. Formally document what was.
I have an answer to that.
Yeah.
It's not frozen at docs freeze because there's still last minute docs changes unrelated to adding docs for a KEP coming in up until like 24 hours before the release. Because we allow other docs changes in. That's why. The freeze deadline for docs is to make sure that people have user-facing changes, like net new user-facing changes in KEPs documented by a deadline so that I don't have to chase SIG leads around the project 24 hours before release. But we are allowing other changes up to 24 hours before the release. Each release, you'll see like 2 or 3 PRs unrelated to a specific KEP that show up on the docs tracking board at the very bottom there. That's what those are. So it's just purely because we let other stuff in. It's the same reason test freeze isn't actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. The other one is also, yeah, this is also some very minor thing. We can do this async. And the last one is Jenny, so I'll let Jenny decide.
Yeah, async is fine with me. I don't think we would come up with a solution during a retro anyway.
Yeah. Well, in that case, I think that we've mostly covered everything. We have the new action items. We actually have some updates on the action items from last time, but we'll leave that for async as well. And I think that with that, we've ended the retros for 134. Kat, anything else?
No, I think this was good. This was productive. Thanks, everybody.
Excellent. So I'll drop I'll stop the recording